Fellas, I'm getting married.
It's gonna be just like old times. Only better, right? Better.
Hollywood has come a-calling. They want to make unfinished business into a movie.
Our carefree college days on full display. I love it.
That book caused a lot of drama.
Get your popcorn ready.
Come with us to Quentin's wedding. It's guaranteed to put a smile on your face.
Think about it. You need to find something you're passionate about. Redefine your purpose.
I thought you found your purpose with that perfume commercial.
Always in my playbook.
We all make mistakes.
And you gotta live with the consequences.
I know what it's like.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tara.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Ron.
And today we are back to talk about The Best Man, the final chapters. This series came like kind of as a surprise to us, you know, when they announced it, because we had The Best Man and The Best Man Holiday, which, you know, ended kind of sad with the loss of Mia. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course, as fans of the sequel franchise. For the franchise, yeah, we were like, you know, I feel like there's a little bit more that they can give us, but you know, we don't always get that. You know, I've been begging for, you know, some closure on Girlfriends for years, but you know, they don't always give us closure. But when I heard that Best Man was coming back with a series, you know, for fit for TV, basically, you know, I was really excited to see where everyone landed after that tragic loss of Mia, because it seemed to have hit every single one of the characters in a major way. Mm-hmm. So this was really exciting. And the series is, you know, keeping up with the same exact cast, same creators, with Malcolm D. Lee, and even bringing in Dana Lynn North. I even seen that Robert Townsend had directed a couple of episodes. So I was like, okay, they really bringing it, you know, and that's always exciting for us as fans. Mm-hmm. So if you guys want to jump right in, the first two episodes, you know, classic Best Man, we have Harper in this flash forward scene, and he's at a speaking engagement. And of course, you know, you have Jordan over there sitting in the audience. And I was like, oh, here we go. You know, they leaving us little tidbits. And I'm like, does this mean
his
that...
soulmate?
Right. And so, you know, we're going to talk more about that later on, because Harper is a lot. So we'll get to Harper and his mess. But the series then flashes back a few years. So we're picking up kind of fairly recently after Mia's death. And we get to see where each person is in life. Quentin, of course, is hosting this big wedding on his resort. And he is marrying this international supermodel, Ziamara, which nobody is really feeling like that. You know, she's on everybody's ish list just because of the way that they notice how she's changing Q. You know, he's a little less jokey. He's trying to be more serious. And it's like this whole holistic approach to life. They're like, who is this guy?
Zia got one time to blow that smoke up in my face and we done. Okay. I'm sorry. I mean,
you know what? One thing I will say, and even with them bringing Nicole Ari Parker in, I'm just looking at everybody, and it's been some years between
20-something years.
20 years
between Best Man
Black
Holiday.
Does not crack.
Hey, not at all.
They looked amazing.
So
every last one of them.
I mean,
So
even the lack of hair that you know, that Chestnut and yeah.
They rock the bodies.
He is fine. Morris is fine. I was like, listen, yes. Everybody looked amazing.
No, I mean,
and that's what I was saying. This show has something for everybody. The women get the eye candy with the Tay Diggs, Morris Chestnut, you know, and then, you know, of course, the men get the eye candy with the ladies. Like, my husband was sitting up there talking about, I used to have the biggest crush on Regina Hall. She still look good.
Look.
And Nia Long is amazing.
Yes. Sanaa Lathan.
Sanaa.
Look, Sanaa, I told my wife, I got so many movie star wives, and she's one of them. I'm going to tell you that right now.
My
Okay.
dad loves Sanaa too.
So yes, that black is not cracking. They
That's
all
right.
looked amazing. That's something I noticed like straight off the jump. And so I was really excited to see them all back together in this scene. And what I really enjoyed about the series as a whole is that it was very realistic about where each of them were in their lives.
Mhm.
You know, it didn't seem like too fabricated or too much of a reach where they were. And of course, this wedding is bringing everybody together after some years, and it's still some drama. You know, Shelby is feeling a little bit, you know, caught off guard, I'll say, because her and Q had that thing going on, and they have for years.
Mhm.
But when she finds out he got this new chick and he's getting married, she's rightfully pissed.
She went gangster. I mean, you know, but I have to say, I love you, Shelby, because your fine self. I can understand, and you know, and you know, in a sense, I can understand why she went gangster, because I think if we look back when they first met and they really couldn't stand one another, and you know, and that's what really told me they're gonna end up together.
Oh, the sexual tension, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're so much alike in some senses, but they have each other's karma. So while Quentin is a little more reserved, but he likes that mess that he gets
drama.
he likes that drama.
He likes that drama.
Yeah, and Shelby can give it to him 100%. And you know, it's what it is. They are soulmates. So I was glad to see them coming together, you know, on this. Well, they were actually coming together a little before this, and then they, you know, it happened. But my thoughts were, don't marry that woman, man. That's not you. That's not
you could tell that it was a PR move for the resorts, and that his father was really behind that. You know, Pops was in favor because of the attention that it would bring to the brand.
The brand, right.
And her too. She was using him. And what told me that I said, this chick is phony. Because when she, you know, said what she said to Shelby in her ear, like, you know, how much
right.
And it's like, I was like, okay, she's supposed to be all holistic and this, that, and the other. I was like, this chick showed her true colors when she went there with Shelby. And I was like, she's phony. And I was like, she is not the one.
And no woman who is about to get married to a man will be okay with someone else sleeping with her soon-to-be husband. Like, she seemed like she really wasn't fazed by it at all.
And she wasn't. I'm like, is this some kind of holistic mess that I've never heard of? Because I'm like, no, that wouldn't fly with any woman that I'm aware.
She felt like she was getting the ultimate prize. Because think about it, you know, I was going to call him Terrence. Quentin's family, his family, they own the resorts and stuff. They have an empire, and so she probably was just thinking about what she was getting out of it. So she just like, if Shelby was gonna get a piece every now and then, she ain't getting the whole pie. So that's why she was like, listen, I won. She basically was telling her to bow gracefully because I won. And so I was happy to see that she did not win.
Right. Exactly.
And Shelby went hard for her, man. I mean, she did all the busted up the bachelor party, you know, and put her little number together. Thanks to Candace.
Thanks to Candace. I told her that.
She did that. I mean, that's how you go after what you want.
Hey.
And you know, when she was told to leave the resort, she bowed out gracefully, but
she did.
You know, she did what she had to do.
And then what she had to do. And he was starstruck too. He was shook after she gave him a little lap dance. I was like, okay.
He was blown up. I mean, like, and when Murch, because Murch actually put it together. He put the show together for him, you know, for the bachelor party show. And I thought he was going to. That Murch is so funny. I mean, in anything I see him in, you know, it's anyways. But I thought that Quentin might strangle him at first because, you know, there was all that disdain.
That was a little bit of sabotage.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, he just sabotaged my boy. This is not going to work. But Shelby put it on him thick. And so, you know, Murch, he came out 100% on that.
But ain't that what real friends are for? They supposed to stop you when they know you're about to make a life altering decision and it's not the right one for you.
Let me
Which
tell you
is what
something.
Harper was questioning. And then but Merchant was like, wait a minute, this woman got him not smoking, he's eating healthy and stuff. And that was funny to me how Murch was so upset about not being chosen to be the best man.
Best man.
He was hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, but that bachelor party is just like Vegas. What happens at the bachelor party stays at the bachelor party.
Yeah. And I was really impressed with how Quentin put his pride aside, ran up to that airport and pleaded for his woman. He really, because so far, we kind of have seen them, like you said, Ron, in this kind of love-hate relationship where it's like they badger each other back and forth, but he really had to put his pride aside and profess his love.
He was scared. I mean, because he was like, "Oh, I'm about to lose my one and only." He had to have her around no matter what. And when she was about to split, he was like, "Okay, I can't have this. We no."
Because of Harper though, because he was the one that told Harper to get her off the island. And then when Harper did what he asked, then he was like, she's not gonna be in my hair, and she's not gonna be going. And when he realized that she was really gone, Harper's like, you need me to take you to the airport?
He didn't waste any time.
He did the right thing.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And as we were talking about early on and where everybody is after the last movie, The Best Man Holiday, I was really concerned with Lance because he seemed like he was going through a midlife crisis. Like he was just out here, sleeping around, just really not being present for his kids. You could tell that he was kind of absent. And he lacked purpose in his life.
He was still grieving.
And like you said, grieving. So it was concerning to see him in the state that he was in early on in the episodes. And like you said, understandable because he's grieving, but when does that come to an end? And so
he always had that aggression and that anger about him, that he was really quick to anger, even before Mia died. And so, and while I understood, this point, what he was going through, but I don't think he really ever, up until later on in the episodes that we'll talk about, he never fully gave Harper his due. And I think that's the only thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with Lance, because in my opinion, they were good for one another, but he always played Harper down a bit, and so I didn't care for that much.
I think it's because Harper had always felt like I messed up, so I have to acquiesce, like you say, to whatever you kind of. It's like always that little chip on his shoulder. It's like it's always a reminder, like you don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and put you back in a bad place.
Yeah, but you can't. But as bros, you can't be tipping around one another like that too long, because that's not gonna end well. As bros, you can't just tip around that too long. Y'all fought about it. Get over it. It's done.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of that had to do with the grieving, because but first off, Mia, like the actions that he displayed with him hoeing around. He was a hoe before he met Mia.
Exactly.
When he fell in love with Mia and stuff, well, he was still tripping around until he said he married Mia. He was faithful to her once they got married. But he had to get over the fact in the Best Man that Harper, this episode was the only time that Harper really came correct first, because and remember in the original, the book, nobody knew except Jordan and Q had figured out that he had slept with Mia and stuff. Lance, he was gonna write the book and not tell them the truth, and then it came out in the Best Man, and then in Best Man Holiday, when he wanted to do the biography, he was half trying to do that too without getting Lance's approval and everything too. So that's what we talked about this off camera about Robyn means about him being selfish, about him trying to use back doorways to get his way. And so so this time I appreciated that Harper, when he got the movie opportunity, he went to everybody up front.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to repeat this same mistake and say, like, do I have your blessing? And if I don't have your blessing, I'm not moving forward with it. So that I thought was growth on Harper's.
Right. But, Lance, initially was all right with it, but then, he explodes later. And again, I know again about Mia. I know I understand, but again, y'all bros, man, y'all gotta get over some stuff.
Yeah. And I was glad that they introduced Jasmine's character, because I thought that she was like the perfect counterpart for Lance post Mia. Like, she really evened him out and helped him to appreciate the little things.
I knew when I first laid eyes on her that I'm like, that's it right there. That's
yes. Yeah.
And she shared his spirituality, because as wild as Lance has been with different women and stuff like that, he always had a spiritual foundation, even in the original one. And so when she started, talking about God and his works and stuff, that's what was missing with him. Like, he was having all these empty connections with these different women. And then when you saw he was at a point where he couldn't perform, I was like, that's why you can't perform. You don't have a real connection anymore.
No, that's absolutely true.
And so when he started connecting with Jasmine, I was like, okay, there's a real connection there. And I appreciated that friendship developed over time. Like, they didn't give it to us right away and everything. And she wasn't available and stuff. And so that's why when they finally, eventually came together and stuff, it was right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I got to give like the chef's kiss to the writers, because they made us wait it out. It was perfect how they kind of wrote the storyline, and they gave us a little bit up front and then kept us lingering and thinking that we knew the outcome when we might have been wrong on some things, which I'm gonna talk about.
I couldn't necessarily guess it, but I can say when he first met her, there was a gleam in his eye that said, okay, he's on her. Now, whether he gets her or not, that'll be the question, because I know when I first saw the two of them chatting, I'm like, okay, this woman is good for him. Whether they get together, whether the writers put them together or not, I wasn't quite sure, but I'm like, this woman is good for him.
And I appreciated that it was a sister with natural hair and
yes,
and everything and stuff. I was really happy to see that representation.
Yes, ma'am.
In the movie, in the show. And I also appreciated Morris's pool scene.
Yes, that little butt shot.
I didn't appreciate that.
I know you did, but we did. But the thing is this, though, T. I saw his interview with Sway, and it was a stand-in, so that was not his real butt. But everything else was his.
Well,
and he still looked
a girl
beautiful.
can only hope, right?
Right.
Oh,
but I was also impressed with the actor that they brought in for Jordan, Will. So the guy that was the shaman, and he was also kind of offering her his fish at the resort.
Yes.
But she called him Willie Bobo. I hollered.
Yeah. Now that's why I say that the series wasn't necessarily predictable, because I really felt like they had a strong connection that they could have went further with. But they didn't give us that. So I was like, okay, they really are keeping it kind of like true to the character, because Jordan is super ambitious and she's not going to let a man divert her plan. So, that was true to her nature. But I did appreciate that introducing her to him. And then even I thought that some parts of Jordan was a little exaggerated, because I felt like maybe she wouldn't be the one to talk to the resort people like that. Like, I know she's a boss and she has that kind of like, I won't say demanding, but she knows what she wants. And she's very sure of herself. But when she was like kind of talking to the resort workers and being like, I need you to go, I don't care if you have to go and get the fish out the water. I thought that was like a little out of character for her.
I did too. I thought that was a little over the top for her, because
I was like, she out here acting like Shelby.
Yeah. And that was the thing too, because she's a boss and she demands her presence. Her presence demands respect, demands that you listen, and I like that strong Black woman thing. I love that. But that scene at the restaurant, I'm like, oh, whoa, it's just fish, babe.
Yeah, it was a bit much, but I think, and I know we're gonna talk about it when we have our roundtable about the Black women in the glass cliff. I think that when you get to a certain level, and I'm not excusing her behavior at all, but I think sometimes, and I read about this too, when we get to a certain level, it's difficult to turn that off. Like for the boardroom and stuff. And that's what I saw. I don't think that she was typically, always that way, but I think she's assertive in the boardroom and everything. And it translated, she needed the self-care, the meditation and stuff and everything. And I think she just kind of snapped.
Well, you know what? That's where Black men and this strong Black woman might come to a head when we talk about this roundtable, because that strength in the boardroom also leads to the bedroom. And are you leading in the bedroom the same way you do in the boardroom? What's going on? And maybe that's why we have it's a discussion that we definitely will have to talk about.
But the thing that I do like about Jordan is that she seems to understand the balance between the two. She knows when to turn it off. Like, I think in her relationships, she's like, even as she's dealing with this new guy, Demetrius, she's cautious because they've dealt with each other before and he played her, but she also isn't so overpowering, and like she allows him to still be the man and to lead, and she kind of takes a feminine kind of like approach sometimes. So that's why I was saying I think she knows how to turn it on and off. You can even see it in her interactions with Harper. So it's like
Harper's
I don't think she's that way.
Harper's a soulmate.
Yeah, Harper. Yeah.
For each other, they are the one who got away. So
right.
She is going to be different. Definitely with Harper. There's they are each other's safe space.
Right.
Even though they never got together, and stuff.
And see, my thought was, my thought, she was saving herself for Harper in a lot of ways, I think, because, she never really had a true relationship. And, although she had something with this dude before, and it was brief.
She had something in Best Man Holiday. She had a man too.
Right. But they don't last. And so, and when she enter into Best Man final chapter, I'm thinking that my first thought was, well, where's your man? And then I see her, leading the boardroom and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, this is a strong Black woman. Maybe she's just one of those women that just didn't want a man because of her career. And that's how it looked like they were, spacing this thing. But I think what the whole deal was is that, as you said, Tiffany, Harper was really the one for her. And if she couldn't have him, I don't think she really wanted anybody.
And plus, I mean, a lot of times when folks are in that position, sometimes it's hard to find somebody on your level, especially if she's not carving out time for folks. There's sometimes people are intimidated by your position and money and things too. So there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. Her having that position.
And I appreciated her stance on Demetrius too, because the second she found out that he was involved in something that was really like contrary to her values, she dropped prisons. Like that.
But you know what? But even when he tried justifying it, and I'm not going to say tried justifying it. What I'm going to say is he had a justification. Now, I don't know whether his justification is honest or not, but it made sense. It made sense to me because, the prison system is one of the biggest detriments to Black men. And nobody's going to make that change unless it's us. And the only way you can make that change is to be a part of the system, and meaning that you own a part of that system, if not all of it. And so therefore you can make the change from the top, because the change isn't going to be made anywhere else. So she never really even gave him the opportunity to express himself in that regard. And I thought that was, initially, she was pissed the moment she discovered that information. And to me, it would have been a point of which you go and say, okay, what is this?
Well, first off, if that was really the way to make change, with the prison and stuff, why have a shell company? Because that's what they discovered, it was a shell company. So he was doing it in secret. So he was being
I was
insidious.
just about to say that.
Yeah,
Already,
The way-
like,
even the way
if that was his goal.
But think about it. But think about it. Having a shell company, which really means you're not putting yourself up front, and thereby not other people who could sidetrack that whole.
It wouldn't have been the shell company wouldn't have been that bad, but the way that they painted it in that Forbes article was kind of like it was some shady business. Like, oh, after 2020, this one company had, these extreme profits and stuff like that. So it seemed, and especially as they were talking about different circumstances that had happened, like things that we faced in real life, the pandemic, the protests, and George Floyd and stuff like that. A lot of people were arrested for non-compliance. And
but white people do that all the time.
He's profiting off the backs of those people.
Well, yeah, and that's wrong. But white people do it all the time, and nobody thinks an eye.
We shouldn't be lending and investing in that. And
But my point is,
in a prison system that's incarcerating our brothers and sisters.
Unless your end goal is to make change. Now, I can't say for sure whether that was his end goal or not. I'm assuming and I'm hoping that that's what it was. But
look,
maybe I'm being
his own nail in his coffin when he came to Harper.
Demetrius, aka Terry Silver from Power.
Well, yeah,
he was wrong. I didn't like how he was trying to step on Harper's moment.
Yeah, he was a hater.
Yeah, he was a hater.
Yeah, so he put his own nail in his coffin.
All right, I'm gonna let that go.
But and I do like I go back to saying, like, I like how they kind of time jumped around in the series, because we did get to see what they were going through, not only just the good times but the hardships too. And I think that I really enjoyed the color that they gave to some of the other characters who we didn't really know all that well, like Murch. Like, we really got to see how he felt about always being portrayed as like the wimp or the weak guy, or just kind of living in the shadows of the rest of the men, and just they always were picking on him. So I really appreciated how they gave him some color in his family life and his household, and then even just him taking his own power back. Like, no, I'm not a punk. He spoke up for himself, and I was really proud when he did.
I was so proud of him too. I was proud of the MMA thing that he did, what he accomplished, and I felt him when he had the situation with the Karen in the street and his family and stuff, and how to the different scenarios he played out in his head and stuff, and just being able to make it back home safely. And when he was talking about it, and he didn't get a chance to really express himself, even with Candace, because Candace was like, well, how are the kids? This, that, and the other. But she forgot to check in with him. Like, are you good? Because she was so, and everybody seemed to do that to him. And the fact that he even said to Quentin, like, Harp, this is your movie, and you got me looking crazy in this movie. You got me looking like a punk. And Quentin's like, we just talking ish and stuff. I'm like, no, well, stop talking ish. Like, how is it that somebody who's supposed to be my friend is portraying me like this on a movie screen that possibly millions of viewers can watch?
Yeah, it gets old being picked up on like that.
No, it does. But again, Murch, you have to drive your own bus, man. I mean, you let somebody drive your bus for you, and you hell knows where they're going to go. And that's what you did in your relationship with the other guys, man. I mean, you kind of allowed it with your soft-spokenness and your unwillingness to speak up about it. And then you get to a point where you explode, and now you've gone crazy, because I thought the man was going to kill himself going into MMA. I mean, now, of course, it didn't happen that way, but my first thought was,
I didn't think so.
I mean, look, let's face it. Murch did not look like the type that would be successful in an MMA fight. So that's all my point.
Those be the ones.
Those be the ones. And then when that guy told him, he was like, I see a fighter in you. When that guy said that, I was like,
Well,
And
when
he
he
just
got,
needed a little confidence. And he
well, it's
needed
that sparring. When he got in there and he started, sparring, I'm like, oh, you got a little something on you. And, and then the guy whispered something, not whispered, but told him, I see a fighter in you. And that's when, that seed was planted, and here he sprouted a big tree. So cool. I like that. In fact, I think in the whole series, that was one of my most favorite moments because, you could take somebody that was weak and mild and meek and make him out of this superhero, basically.
It was already in him. It was in him. It just needed to be the seed needed to be
Brought out.
planted. He needed the confidence and stuff. It was in him.
Yeah.
It was in him.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. And I also like what they did with Candace's character, because she has some insecurity too about, being the ex-stripper and really trying to prove herself in this world of academia. And so, and even trying to take the holistic approach to the children's medications and prescriptions and things like that. That caused the uproar, of course. But, after that ayahuasca they had at the resort, she was all in. So, like I said, like adding color to some of these characters that we didn't really know too much about. Another one, Quentin, he was always just the jokey joke, nonchalant type one. But once we got to see him deal with his father and the backstory to their resort business, their empire, it really made a lot of sense why he is always kind of like being jokey. It's because he's getting punked by his dad somewhat. Like dad is running his life in the background and trying to narrate how things go, and he wasn't really empowered to make his own decisions, and his dad kind of feared that he would screw up the family legacy. So that's something that we wouldn't have known had they not presented this to us. So again, just standout job giving these characters life, breathing a real meaningful storyline behind their actions.
And I appreciated how I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing. That's all.
Okay. I was going to say, I appreciated how the characters, they were true to their characters from the original Best Man, but they evolved too.
Yes.
Like even some of the things I picked up on, like, in the original Best Man, Harper didn't even believe in God, but he was talking about God with Lance and stuff. And then just watching them age, like certain things, like, we saw Quentin had his health crisis.
The menopause issue with Shelby.
The menopause. Yeah.
And then, Neela, I'm sorry, not Neela, Jordan, her fear of not being able to have kids and her.
Thinking that her time had passed and stuff like that.
Lance too. Lance watching Stephen A critique him for being old, everybody thinking he this old washed up player. That's real stuff. And I'm glad that they brought that out about Lance, because it wasn't just about Mia's grief. It was also about his retirement and him feeling like he didn't have a purpose anymore. But
he did show that he didn't lose a step. I mean, he could have played, but I think he made a better. Say again?
Once you get hit, though.
Yeah.
The 48-year-old body can't take the
he had to tap out after that.
Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you, those pains stay for a while.
Yeah, so he took on his coaching role. I was like, yeah, that's probably more like it.
Yeah, that more down your alley. Made sense. Made sense.
But you talk about the evolution too. Lance had a huge evolution, especially in this situation with LJ, because that was a very touchy subject. And of course, they're bringing in today's issues. Maybe back when the original Best Mans were made, that wasn't really a hot topic, but today it is. And we've seen with real life stars like Magic Johnson and his son EJ having to deal with the LGBTQIA problems that some older generations don't understand. They just don't want to they don't even want to understand it sometimes. So Lance was like super against it, and it took something like very almost detrimental to happen before he kind of broke through.
But you have to understand, I think that while, and rightfully so, we do give a lot of credence to LGBTQ community, because they are, terrorized every single day. And I got that. But as a father who didn't know and you've watched your boy grow up. You know, most fathers want their sons to take on their legacies, and you know, and this is what he saw his son doing, and to just come out in that fashion, you know, he finding out by mistake, not having the chance for LJ to talk to him and say, hey, Dad, this is who I am, and we're going to have to get past this. It was a shocking moment for the parent. And so I can definitely understand, you know, what Lance was going through. I mean, that's not something, you know, I think
it's a pill to swallow.
No, it's a huge pill to swallow, but I'm glad that he got over it in the vein and fashion that he did. It was to me, it was more realistic of what might happen in a situation like that. So the writers really put a lot of thought behind it without having to whitewash any aspect of it. You know, they brought in both sides having their own rights and responsibilities to the relationship. And I like the way it mended, you know, and it came together. So kudos for that.
And I like how they let LJ kind of come out in his way. Like they all the friends knew, but they didn't run and tell Lance right away, because that's a big thing. Like, you're not supposed to out people before they're ready. That could have been very detrimental to LJ too. And so I liked how they kind of wrapped their support around him, whether they agreed or not. And
that's LJ's responsibility to get his father on board, to make him understand who he really is. That's nobody else's responsibility.
Right. Nobody else's responsibility. But, you know, as he saw, you know, it would have been difficult to talk to Lance about that. I think even if Lance hadn't stumbled across the situation, I think Lance would have still had a
because like I said,
just being who he was.
He saw his legacy just go right down the drain.
Exactly.
So and
his
yeah,
son.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for any father at any point in time. But you know, it was just upsetting to find that he had to find out through somebody.
Shelby accidentally broadcasting it.
I was like, oh my goodness.
That was a little jacked up. I mean,
was real jacked up.
Piece, but it was jacked up how it came out. It was an accident, but I was like, oh, here we go. And I was like, that's when I really started being concerned for him, because Lance really was not budging on his stance.
And you got to think too, because again, Lance is a spiritual man. The Bible is keeping, even though he wasn't acting like it when he was out here home, right? His foundation, his base is spiritual, Bible based. So he was like, no, wait a minute. And then, you know, it was like, wait a minute. But I do appreciate with the friends how they are all there for each other.
Yes.
You know,
no matter what,
no matter what, they may have like issues with each other or whatever, but when one of them is down, they all come through for each other.
I think that especially touching to me was after, you know, Harper and Robyn's breakup, and you know, he's moping away on the couch, and they just came into his house, didn't say a word, bought the food, bought the drinks, started setting up the table with the cards. We need a fourth. That's the only thing they said.
I like that too. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I was like, that's how you show up for your friend.
And that's what bros do. You know, you don't have to call each other and again make a time or an appointment. You just show up because you know where he is. Now, getting back to Robyn.
I knew you was going there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and I said it before, you know, while we were offline, and I'm gonna say it here. I thought she was, you know, a little hasty with her decision. You know, for one thing, you painted Harper as a very, very selfish man. And while he may have selfish tendencies, only because he was striving to be something or striving to get his work out. And
he was already something.
No. He wanted to get that another book out. It's entropy. He went into himself. He knew he he knew he had to do some, he had to put all himself into that project. And that's what he was doing. I got it. Because, most guys, look, when you have a business and a wife, you really have two wives. You got the business as a wife who demands a certain amount of your time, if not most of your time. And then you got your wife. I get it, though. I know where you're going, Tiffany, and I'm going to let you go there in a second. But
you got the
I know
floor.
I got the floor, so thank you. But, you, Robyn, while you had the right to have what you want, to be fulfilled in the relationship in the very way that you saw Harper being fulfilled, but Harper was being fulfilled based on what you were allowing, and you got tired of it at a point, and here's the explosion. And then I got to bring up the child. You want to go to Africa? Come on. No man is going to get on a plane every week to go to Africa to see his child. I'm sorry. That's
No. I felt you on that because, listen, I'm divorcee, and I had similar conversations with my divorce attorney about the child, and he was just like, unless it's something, because at one point I had considered relocating, and he was like, unless it's for a job or the remarriage, whatever, like he said, if I was your husband or ex-husband, I would petition to have the child stay here. He said, because how are you going to be able to, that's a whole continent.
A whole continent.
I appreciated that Robyn wanted to, be in touch with her Blackness. Like I did. I liked her art as far as that, like how her generosity and her giving to the community and all that stuff. But I do take your point about, because she is a little girl.
Exactly.
And him not being able to see her that often and stuff, I was concerned about that as well.
Right.
And statistically, women do that a lot to their other half, and it's wrong. I don't care what your emotions tell you. I don't care what you think. It's wrong. The man has as much parental rights as that woman, and when there's no child abuse and there's no domestic violence at play. If that were the case, take her as far away as you can go. But that wasn't the case. He was a loving husband and a loving dad. Well, you said she wasn't trying to punish him?
No, she wasn't trying to punish him, but she had wanted to go to Ghana anyway. When they left the resort, she was trying to stay in Jamaica. She wanted to stay in the island. She wanted to be around her people and the culture and stuff. So this wasn't like
Tiffany.
It didn't just come out the blue.
Tiffany, it may not have come out the blue, but now we're getting a divorce. You understand the circumstances and you understand the consequences of taking your child a whole continent away from her dad. You understand those consequences. And if you still want to do it after understanding those consequences, I'm sorry.
I'll say this. I see both of you guys' argument, because I think that Harper has definitely been selfish. He continuously puts work before his family. And, he's looking to be fulfilled. He talked about how he wanted to be taken seriously as an author and as a writer. And he expressed that about his career, but not realizing that Robyn has those same aspirations in her career, wanting to be able to pursue her dream. She kind of stood on the sidelines a while he got his shine. And
for
now
15
that he got his
years.
shine, he's still not satisfied.
For 15 years. And even the one thing she asked him to do was to get the place, Dukes, so jazz club and stuff. And he did not do that. And he was just like, oh, we'll find something else. She has always, even in the original Best Man, she dude
played her part.
He was getting ready to cheat on her. And when she was coming, and if he hadn't got his butt whooped by Lance, he would have cheated on her with Jordan.
And if he hadn't got that phone call from Q, he would have cheated this series.
Exactly. He would have cheated again. And she still like came to the wedding. She put all that aside to support him, to help with Lance, get Lance married to Mia. And then this time they were beefing. She still put that aside to go help find LJ. She was always
very selfless.
Very selfless. And she finally said, enough is enough. Like, I'm doing this and this and this. And she said, I asked you, she said, I gave you 15 years. She said, I asked you for 1 month. The thing that she was going to do in Ghana so they can go as a family, he was like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. That's 1 month. Like, she was consistently putting her stuff behind his work and everything. So that's why I said he's selfish. And even Murch spoke up and said, when it comes to you gonna always look out for yourself first instead of doing what's right. And Harper has always been consistent in that fashion.
He has. And that's why I say I agree with both of you guys, because I do think Mia's decision was a little hasty. I was like, dang, he's like pleading with you, like, this is your marriage.
Robyn.
I'm sorry, Robyn. He is pleading with you for your marriage, and I was really sad that, he was kind of left there in the middle of the street as they drove away, and baby girl is in there crying, pleading for her dad to come. So I was like, it really does affect the kids the most. And so that's why I was like, I understand both sides, but Robyn on the other hand, it's like, you're not going to change. I've heard this song before. So it's like, I get it. When you fed up, you fed up.
When a woman is done.
Okay, but you were done on a preset that, first of all, Harper didn't put you on the side. You put yourself on the side. You could have spoken up a long time ago. Now, as a man.
She admitted that too.
As a man. Okay, but you can't admit on one end and still be torn up on. I'm just saying, and you're right. She admitted it on one end, but you're still torn up about it on this end. There's got to be a happy medium that I think you and Harper could have come to, which I was hoping that they would. But you let that emotional thing that I'm through because you did this to me.
She wanted to go to Ghana. He said,
well, that's what it really was.
They were at an impasse.
No, she was at an impasse because Harper
was done.
Yeah, but my point being is, and ladies, if any of you out there that aren't married, make good and damn sure that you put your foundation forward as to who you are and what you need in that relationship before you get married. Don't get married and then start.
But sometimes you don't know, because remember in the beginning, the original Best Man, she took a minute to find her niche. They were teasing Harper about that.
At any point that you find your niche, then you got to let it be known and speak that up and speak it into existence. Just like Harper was doing. Harper wasn't doing anything wrong. He was following his.
There was nothing wrong with Harper wanting to follow his ambition.
And he wanted to, but because
he was putting it ahead of his family. That's the thing. He was.
He did not want to buy a bigger home. He wanted to buy a bigger home.
He didn't need that. He was already rich at that point.
It's not about need.
Can I butt in here?
Okay.
I think that the bottom line to this whole situation with Harper and Robyn is that they simply grew apart. And sometimes that happens in marriages where you're not the same people that you were when you started.
I agree with that.
So they absolutely had different plans and they were going to separate ways. You could tell that. From the second that you seen Robyn eyeing Jaha at the farmer's market, that he was more up her alley.
He was, and and I would say sooner than that. When she went and she was talking to the woman that had the stand and at the resort, and she was like getting into the culture and the recipes and this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, Robyn is changing. I said, I said before she was like talking about staying behind, like he wanted to move to the Upper West Side and everything, so the good schools and this, that, and the other. And she was like, I want to stay in Harlem. I want to stick where my people are. She was getting on to protest. So the two of them, I was like, oh, their values have changed.
And they were already like ships passing each other in the night. Harper over here, Robyn out here celebrating New Year's by herself with his friends. So it was like they were, it was inevitable. They had grown apart. And I think just trying to hang on to something to force it to work, it wouldn't have benefited either one of them. Because we know how they both flourished once they separated.
I got you both. I just didn't see the bullet that causes that much destruction in the family. I just didn't see it.
I probably would have fought it out personally.
Yes. I mean, you got to have that extra fight. You got to have that. I mean, 15 years is is some time to spend in a marriage, but it ain't a lifetime. And my whole
But
point is, but you had a man that said, I want to give it a shot one more
hold up
time.
though. Hold up though. The other nail in the coffin is that she kept reading that script. And I was like, Harper, did you not learn nothing? You know, when she was reading about how basically the characters in the book,
Right.
you know, Jordan was always the soulmate for Harper. And so her reading that, it's like ripping the Band-Aid back off.
Well, no, that right there.
That's the other thing that's like, okay, I'm really done with you. Not only am I not pursuing my goals, but you still, your heart is with another woman.
You still pining. And he was MIA. When she asked him, she was like, okay, where did you go after the premiere? When she did the process of elimination, she knew that he was with Jordan and stuff. And when she saw Jordan, and Jordan was like, hey, she looked at her, she didn't even speak. And I was like, yeah. I said, I'm done. Not only are you not family first,
look, I have to,
another woman over here.
I have to admit, when we got to that point, I can see where she being done with it came in. I can see that, you know, and which is why Harper made, I just think it was a mistake to marry Robyn when your love interest was someplace else.
But that's why I say I really like the realism of the show, because you don't always get who you really want.
Exactly. So you may not always end up with your soulmate.
Okay.
And Jordan has always been his soulmate, at least as far career-wise and stuff and what they have in common. But you see that whenever they try to get together, something always prevented it.
And that's why I kind of like too that, like, even though, you know, Robyn had a wandering eye earlier on, we seen Harper had a wandering eye. I like how they didn't end up with the people we thought they would end up with, because I felt like it would have trashed the characters. Because think about it, if Jordan and Harper ended up together, me as Robyn, I would have been like, okay, so you always want him. We kikiing, we going out on vacations together, our families kicking it. But in the back of your mind, I would feel like you have always wanted my husband. And I'm glad that they I know that is what it's about. But you know, we talked about how the characters grow and how they can be platonic. And so that's what kind of a thing that I appreciated about Jordan being in this friend group amongst married men. Like, it was always kind of platonic, and she knew how to set boundaries. Sometimes. But you know, I'm glad that Harper, when he was making his advances after he broke up with Robyn, he was making advances at Jordan, talking about moving in with her. I'm like, you know,
Jordan was like, no, I'm gonna be here for you as your friend.
Yeah.
And that was smart.
Like, that would have been the perfect opportunity for her to, you know, like, oh, well, this is what we've always wanted. Let's ride off into the sunset together.
No,
and she did that. And I was proud that, you know, she didn't do that.
But she said if it ends up that way, and the meat will, you know, so she didn't roll it out. But she said right now, you need to be by yourself. You get yourself together, and I'm gonna be here as your friend.
And that's and she could not have spoken any truer statement or made such a, you know, I mean, that right there said to me how much growth you saw in Robyn and
Jordan.
I mean, sorry, on Jordan. That showed me how much growth you saw in Jordan, and also why she is who she is, why she's the boss, why she, you know, it told me a lot of things about her. Because I know she truly loves Harper. And, you know, had it been any other circumstances, they might have gotten together. I hope, you know, we may have seen the end and we may not see any more of this. I would love to see another series run.
I can see it. They definitely left a little string out there to pick up on.
Yeah, I want to see, I honestly want to see that coming together. And you know what? And I think if they were to come together, Robyn would be okay with it.
I think she seems like they're at a very amicable place. She sent the daughter back from Ghana to be at his Pulitzer Prize ceremony. So it seemed like they are in a really good place. And I think that Robyn has always known in her heart that he wanted Jordan. So if it was to happen, I think she would be like, you know, do your thing.
Do you think you all belong together? Because you should have been together a long time ago. But so you're right. I think that it would work. I think it would work out for everybody.
Yeah, and on the flip side with Robyn and the Jaha dude, I thought that he was gonna be the fuel to the fire for why they broke up.
Ooh, she had me scared for a minute. I was like, wait a minute, Robyn, what you doing? When he came to the house, I was like, you got to do okay. He came and brought heaters, but I'm like, you got him coming to your house, your husband not there. I was scared.
Me too. Me too. But that's why, like I said, I'm glad they didn't trash the characters. Everybody still got to keep their dignity at the end of this.
See, that's
so
what
I was.
I'm sorry.
What's that too?
I was gonna say that's what happens when you leave too much space
in
between too, because Harper wasn't home, and he always she was spending a lot of time alone, and that can open the door.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, so that's why I said, and that's why even Lance, like at the party, he was like, "Whatever you need to do, you need to get home ASAP." He texted me, and I was like, and that's a friend. Like, tell him, like, listen.
Yeah,
your wife is over here crying and stuff. Like she's a beautiful woman. Jaha or whatever dude's name is could have slid right on in there.
Yeah. So
let me just before we end this, I just want to make certain that everybody understands. I am not saying that Harper was anyway 100% right. He literally did bring on the demise of the relationship. I just think that it was unknowingly. It wasn't purposeful. I don't think that he was. Yeah, I just want to make that clear before I get some nasty emails from y'all sisters.
Listen, I like Harper too. I don't think Harper was mean-spirited or anything like that. I don't, like you said, I don't think that he recognized, especially since she wasn't also telling him. It took her a minute to really express how she felt. She just was kind of like going along with it and stuff. So I don't think he was a bad person. You can see that Harper was trying to grow too. Like, I was proud of the fact that he even met with everybody to tell them about the movie. Right. You know, like as opposed to the original when he was trying to hide the book and then he trying to, you know, just be sneaky about things with the book and the biography for Lance and Best Man Holiday. So I was thankful too in this episode, like even though we had the health crisis with Q and then we had a possible scare with LJ, I was glad that nobody passed away this one, because I tell you, Best Man Holiday, it was a good movie, but I only could watch it a couple times. I said because the Mia situation was too close to home for me because my own mom. So I was just like, ooh. Yeah. I was like, I said, I don't know if I can do this again with this one. So I was satisfied with the way.
Yes. Exactly. So Q is making some lifestyle changes. The only thing that really, really bugged me about their family dynamic was their daughter Kennedy. I'm like, this girl would not call him dad to save her life. You know, and she just seemed like she was so absorbed in the material things. And I'm like, okay, it is Shelby's child. It's Shelby's child. She got it honest. But at the same time, you know, at the same time, that is your biological father, and you are in the household with him. Like, he's not just the ATM. Like, I wanted more of a bond between them two. That's the only thing. That was
Shelby's fault.
It was Shelby's fault
because she lied and didn't tell neither one of them that was her father for a long time. So I think it took some time for her to even go from him being Uncle Quentin to now realizing that this was her dad.
But we got from 2015, I think, was when they picked up, and we all the way to 2024. So that's like a 9-year span. Like, you should have been able to build some kind of bond in between that time. And that was just kind of the part that I was like a little bit like, but otherwise I was okay with it.
But I can say this, as a responsible dad, a responsible father, I really felt it when she called him dad. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, those are the sweetest words ever spoken to a father. You know,
that's what gave me hope for their relationship, but it could improve from here. Yeah. So I have really, really enjoyed this series. Like I said, I'm glad that it wasn't like so predictable, because I had some theories going early on. I thought it was gonna be a lot of cheating, some backstabbing, and it wasn't like that. And so I'm glad that everybody can still be amicable. The group is still together, despite, you know, their different trials and tribulations. Even Lance got his happy ending. So I'm thinking we could definitely still get a sequel with him getting married to Jasmine and seeing what goes on from there. Of course, Jordan and Harper are always on the table as a couple. And I just like how Murch and Candace grew together, how she, you know, stood up for herself when she came out against the professor, how Murch stood up for himself against the guys picking on him, and then how Q and Shelby both seem to mature and how they're starting to age, accept their aging.
Right.
And the situation with the father, like, you know, because that's real too. When you, as you get older and stuff, and then your parents are aging, and then they're becoming ill, and the situation with the father, like, you know, falling, and then the house, you know, kind of in a hoarder state and everything. It was some real life situations going on and stuff. And the writers did a great job of evolving with the times and everything. And
and not forcing it.
By still being true to the franchise.
Right.
Yeah, it did not feel forced to me.
No, they packed in a lot of stuff, but they were able to work around it or work through it very gracefully. And you know, we got everything we wanted. I don't think I didn't leave feeling like there was something left out. Except I wanted to see that relationship between Harper,
Robyn, and her. Yeah, it was sad to see them break up, especially when they, you know, they had the Gladys Knight playing and stuff. I was like, oh Lord, that was
neither one of us.
That was tough. That was tough.
It was.
But you know what was funny to me when they worked in the joke about the Will Smith slap.
Right.
Because when Q said, "Keep my wife's name," I said, they were so timely with that.
Yes. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, even to the point where they added the bloopers in at the end. They don't do that with shows no more, not even with movies. So it's always, I love to see the behind the scenes bloopers and stuff. I'm so glad they put that in at the end.
I agree.
Because you can tell that they are like family on and off screen. You can just see the chemistry between all of them.
Yeah, they
are family. And the part that I love was when in the blooper when Nia called Demetrius Darius, because I was like, yes, Darius Level, because you know Love Jones is one of my favorite movies. So I was like, that's why she slipped and called him Darius.
Yes, man, this was such a feel-good series. I felt like it was perfect timing with the holidays. Everybody's off from work. You can just binge it straight through, and that's exactly what I did.
Twice. I did for me. I went through. I watched the whole thing twice.
Yeah, so it's perfect timing. If you have made it this far in the in our recap, I'm hoping that you've seen the series. If not, you need to go and get Peacock and go ahead and binge it. Sit down with your family members. It's really a family feel-good type series. And it's a classic, like it's really a Black American classic series, like this whole The Best Man, and they can pick it up and take it as long as they want to go with it. And I think that people will always be here for them.
Got it.
So
I know I will.
Me too.
My hat's off to everybody involved, the cast, the crew, directors, you know, everybody killed it. I couldn't be more pleased. So do you guys have anything else you want to add before we close out?
I think you left it right where it should be.
Okay, great. Well, to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Please drop down in the comment section and give us your thoughts on the series. Let us know what you thought about it, where you think it could pick up. You know, they do listen to the fans sometimes. Maybe we could rally them up enough to give us another couple of seasons. So you never know. But thank you again for watching. This is The Spot Real Talk. Please make sure you are subscribed to our channel. We are also on all social media platforms at The Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Give us a follow and keep up with us because we definitely have a lot of content coming in this next month. so many different shows we are recapping, so you are not going to want to miss out. And we also have a super special roundtable that we mentioned where we are going to be discussing some real talk. Okay, so don't miss out on that either. And on that note, I think we'll call it a night. Thanks again, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.